In this video, I will be breaking down and analyzing everything that was showcased in the new MHWilds Sword and Shield weapon overview trailer, as well as mentioning some important Sword and Shield moves that were not showcased in the trailer. And then towards the end, I will give some of my final thoughts and impressions. Alright, let's get started. The first thing we see before we even get to the thumbnail card of the video is the return of the backstep. Awesome. If you've been following my channel, I have multiple tutorials between World and Rise that cover just how important it is to master this move. So seeing this return in Wilds means I'll probably be making another tutorial on the backstep. Of course, assuming it will be just as useful as the previous two games. Additionally, we see the player charging up a charge slash, and although we don't actually get to see a charge slash, I'm hoping that it gets an improvement compared to Rise's charge slash, because Rise's charge slash was basically useless. But instead of doing a charge slash, the player does a leaping slash, or the start of perfect rush. So yes, the backstep will again most likely be the main way of performing perfect rush. Now the next thing we see is a brand new combo. It starts off with chop, followed by a fade slash to the right, a couple more slashes, and then one more slash where the player is moving back to the left. It's a sick looking combo, and it appears that it will be very useful for repositioning yourself without changing the angle that you're facing. We don't know for sure what the inputs are for these new strafing attacks though, which is something I'll speculate a bit later. Then we move on to the Hard Basher combo, which looks like it will be just as fast as Rise's Hard Basher combo. You can also see that the shield hits do not have any fire effect to them, so we can probably expect shield hits to do no elemental damage, and I would also assume that shield hits won't cause any sharpness either, just like in the previous titles. Now here the player follows up Hard Basher with Sliding Slash, and afterwards the player does Chop Side Slash into the new Strafing combo, this time moving slightly to the left. The next clip we see the player guard. Cool. But if you pay attention and slow down the video, you can actually see this circular motion with the shield, which indicates to me that the sword and shield will get some kind of perfect guard or perfect parry. You can see this animation a bit better in the next clip before the player drinks a potion with the weapon still drawn. Next we see the sword and shield's focus mode stance and focus strike, which is a quick thrust that latches onto the monster similar to the perfect rush finisher from Iceborne. We then see Shorigeki into Falling Bash. It unfortunately won't appear to be the super powerful Mechu Shorigeki in Rise, but it's still nice to see the shield uppercut return. Not sure if there will be other follow-ups while you're latched on like this. Here we have Perfect Rush 2 and 3, although we don't get to see a finisher to Perfect Rush, which is kind of a shame. Here we have more evidence that perfect guarding exists for the sword and shield. After the parry, the player follows up with something that looks similar to the Spinning Reaper, which I hope it's really strong because I would like it to be viable. I would also like guarding in general to be more viable than it is in the previous games. Either make it so that this perfect guard will always work regardless of guard knockback, or just completely buff the guard armor skill. And lastly, we have what I assume to be a finisher of some sort. I think in my previous video I mentioned that this is a focus strike. Upon looking at it again, I'm not so sure that this is the case because we don't see the glowing red spots, but who knows really. This could be one of the possible finishers for Perfect Rush. That would be the only place where this kind of move would make sense to me, but it's impossible to tell if that's the case either. Regardless, cool attack. Okay, now let's talk about some of the things that were not shown off in the trailer that I think are important to note. Of course, there will be plenty of other stuff not shown in the trailer that I won't mention, so maybe leave a comment if there's something else missing that you want to talk about. Also, please do note that I will be doing some speculation here, so don't take anything too seriously, it's all just for fun, right? Anyways, the first thing we didn't see is the lateral slash and return stroke combo. These two sword hits have been very useful for almost every mainline Monster Hunter game up until this point, so it's interesting that it isn't shown off here. I do think that there is a chance that it will return though because of the existence of the Hard Basher combo, both having similar inputs. The second attack that was not shown is the classic Sword and Shield combo. Unlike Lateral Slash and Return Stroke, this attack isn't good. Most players, including myself, will advise you to never use this attack as it's relatively slow and does little DPS. But I predict that they might actually be scrapping this move. That's because it appears that they are reworking the triangle button combo to be all these new strafing attacks that we see in the trailer. And because we will be getting these new combos, the Twin Blade combo from Sunbreak and the Spiral Slash combo from World will probably not return as well, because their inputs will most likely conflict with these brand new combos in Wilds. Now, those two moves in particular were also moves that allowed for a Sword and Shield player to reposition by rotating rather than strafing. In Wilds though, it seems like you'll be able to rotate the player during almost any attack using Focus Mode, seen here in the Focus Mode trailer. It's probably going to take some time getting used to, but to me, it seems like we'll have tons of repositioning freedom in this game. And that goes for all the weapons, not just the Sword and Shield. Anyways, another attack we didn't see was the Round Slash. Now, Sunbreak objectively had the best version of Round Slash. You could use it after almost any attack, you can aim it in any direction, and it is very strong. Unfortunately, I think that Round Slashes will get replaced by Sliding Slashes as you see in the Focus Mode trailer. And even more unfortunate, the Spinning Reaper after the Hard Basher combo seems like it's getting replaced by Sliding Slash. Now, unless Sliding Slash is just as strong as Round Slash, or if it gives tons of iframes, then I do think that this changes an overall nerf. Like, sure you can use it to approach the monster, but rolling does the same thing anyways, so yeah. If it's not better than simply rolling, then I'm unfortunately not a fan of this change. The last thing we didn't get to see in the trailer were other actions from Guard other than using items. Sure, it may not have been super exciting to put in the trailer, but I have also made a few tutorials on why guarding is so important in Rise and World, so it would have been nice to see something else. Like, is Rising Slash back? Is Guard Slash back? Can we backstab from Guard? Those to me are more important actions from Guard than using items, which I understand that you have to mention that the Sword and Shield is the only weapon that can use items with the weapon still drawn. Whatever. There are some niche uses for using items while unsheathed, but in most scenarios it's not gonna matter that much because the Sword and Shield can already sheath super fast. Okay, so what are my final impressions on the Sword and Shield overview trailer? Well, what I want to see the Sword and Shield become is the ultimate jack-of-all-trades weapon like it was in Sunbreak. A weapon that can do strong hits for good raw damage, can deal great elemental damage with the sword combos, and can knock out monsters with the shield. And although the new moves that are being added in Wilds are cool looking and fresh, I'm a little bit skeptical that the Sword and Shield in Wilds won't be as good as it was in Sunbreak, and even Iceborne. We won't have any powerful Silkbind attacks, and I'm sure the developers are still very wary of how overpowered Perfect Rush was in Iceborne. However, we don't know anything yet until we actually get the game. As for the popularity of the Sword and Shield, well, it finished Sunbreak at 9th place at 4.6 usage rate, and I predict that this percentage won't really change much based on what we saw between all the weapon trailers. Like, sure, we got some new flashy moves, but so did everything else, including the longsword, and the longsword has nearly 5 times the usage rates of the Sword and Shield, at least in Sunbreak. But I do hope that weapon popularity between all the 14 weapons do balance out a little bit. It's a little sad to see weapons like Hunting Horn, Lance, and Gun Lance consistently be the least popular. Anyways, I'm excited for the Sword and Shield in Wilds. I'm also not gonna gas it up like it's going to be the best version of the Sword and Shield than it has ever been. Even though none of us have played the game yet, we will only know how good the weapon will be once we actually get the game. Of course, I'll be doing plenty of testing, I'll be making tutorials, builds, and I'll be doing other fun stuff with the Sword and Shield. So if you aren't already subscribed and want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe because it would help me out a lot. Okay, that is all I have for this video. If there is anything else you want to add, feel free to leave a comment down below. Like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you aren't already subscribed. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.